Good evening, you're watching Left, Right and Centre. I'm Nidhi Razdan. It's been exactly 1 week now since the Prime Minister dropped the bombshell and announced the end of 500 and 1000 rupee notes. 7 days later, there is still chaos in many parts of the country as people line up for cash and ATMs run out of it. Today, the government announced that banks will now put indelible ink on the fingers of those who come to exchange their old notes. That's to avoid repeat trips to the bank for exchanges. Now, as the centre deals with the enormous task that it has, the opposition is all set to take them on in Parliament tomorrow. Mamata Banerjee is planning to march to the President's house, but it's also a divided opposition because it's not like other parties. All other parties are with her, though she has got the BJP's ally, the Shiv Sena, on board to Rashtrapati Bhavan tomorrow. Even the Supreme Court waded into this today, asking the government what it was doing so that the common man wasn't suffering in this cash cleanup. So we're asking tonight whether this cash cleanup is going to work in the long run. Nalin Kohli of the BJP joins us tonight. We also have TV Mohandas Pai joining us from Pune, Priyanka Chaturvedi of the Congress, and Nalin, I already introduced you, Shivam Vij of Huffington Post India, the deputy editor, is here with us as well. So Shivam, let me ask you first, because the politicians are going to get into it. What's your assessment 7 days later? Is it a little better? Do you sense that the lines are getting a little bit shorter, or is it still chaotic?
I think with every passing day, people are losing patience over the scheme. The sentiment that this is something good, that it's a minor inconvenience for a greater good, is reducing by the day. I think people are able to see that there are no black money people committing suicide. People are able to see, there's so many stories, and not just stories but on the streets also. There are auto wallahs saying they've been offered by people to convert their black money into white by putting it into account 2.5 lakh rupees and so on. At the same time, we've seen the suffering that people are going through is far from a minor inconvenience. There have been till yesterday at least 25 deaths because of demonetization. This includes suicides, heart attacks, elderly people collapsing in queues. Today there have been some more, at least two more that I counted today. One man in East UP stood in a queue for 8 hours and collapsed and died. He had to travel for his daughter's tilak to Madhya Pradesh. So that is the kind of suffering people are going through. Can you imagine if 25, 30 people had died in a terrorist attack, we would have been asking for war with Pakistan. 25, 30 people are dying because of demonetization, because one woman didn't have money to buy rations. She went 3 days in a row and couldn't exchange her money, because one woman thought all her savings had now become waste paper and so on. And we are here saying, let's put election ink, let's do this, and the kind of confusion and chaos which the government, clearly so unprepared for this. Sometimes they say it'll take 4 days, 50 days.
But Shivam, I just want to say that at the same time, you do hear voices of people who have been inconvenienced and are going through these long queues and are without cash, who are still turning around and saying, well, we support the government in principle on this. In the long run, we know it's a good idea.
Yes.
So that sentiment is there too.
Well, yes, that sentiment is there. What I'm saying is that sentiment is reducing every day. If you saw a report in the Indian Express today from a remote village in Bastar, there's a quote of a farmer saying, don't call it dikkat. It's not just an inconvenience. We have been starving for 3 days. So the sentiment that, it's okay, we can manage, comes more from city folk. There's a survey by Ipsos yesterday which says that there's 82% approval, but the survey is only in large cities, only in Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, Hyderabad.
So let me ask Mohandas Pai, would you say, when you look at a 7-day assessment of this entire process, that this has been badly handled? Maybe it's a good idea. Some people don't think it's a good idea either. But would you say that it's just been badly handled and badly managed?
Well, I think it could have been handled slightly better. What I would have done is, I would have started a clean note policy maybe 2 or 3 months before, and in the rural areas, stuff the entire system with 500, 100 rupee notes with a view to taking back bag notes which are 500, which are 50 and 100 rupees. So you would have created some more liquidity, and you could have handled it slightly better. But be it as it may, I think the government was paranoid about secrecy, because if the news leaks out, then obviously many bad people will make hay. I think overall, we are going to learn to live with it. Like Arundhati Bhattacharya said, the number of people going to banks is coming down. There is pain, there is discomfort to a lot of people, but the number of people is coming down. In the next 2 or 3 days, we'll see some improvement. And I don't believe this news about so many deaths and all, because in Mumbai, when they spoke about some death, it turned out to be bogus. Every death needs to be investigated. If somebody stands in the queue and has a heart attack because natural causes. You can't blame all this. I won't believe all this.
There seems to be a very
Some people are
large
sparing lives too.
coincidence
Yes,
of
there is pain, but I
elderly
think
people
patience
collapsing
is
in
becoming
queues.
thin. But it is as it is. We have to live through it.
Well, I mean, I think Mr. Pai, I don't think we should gloss over. I mean, people losing their lives is a very serious matter. If somebody has a heart condition and is standing in line for 8 hours, I think, I don't think we should just say, well, this
happened. We've got to get the
happens.
facts because
Yeah,
there could be
you're right
wrong
about that
reports
too.
being spread.
Yeah.
But even if you take out the people dying in queues, and all elderly people, there have been suicides, sir, and that is, reported by news sources like Indian Express, Hindustan Times, PTI, INS, credible sources. I don't see the reason to not believe them.
The question though is that, Priyanka Chaturvedi, the opposition is now preparing to corner the government in parliament on this tomorrow. But the opposition isn't united. You all can't even decide whether to march with Mamata Banerjee to Rashtrapati Bhavan. So is it going to be an effective opposition?
No, I think as far as unity of the opposition is concerned, it's not about marching to the Rashtrapati Bhavan. It is about speaking in one voice against the ill thought out and ill executed plan of this government. And I think everyone is on the same page as far as that is concerned. Let's be very clear about this. 86% of the currency became illegal overnight. 90%, almost approximately above 80% of the economy is run on cash. We have 42% people in the country who do not even have a bank account. And here you have a Prime Minister making, taking decisions like these without even thinking of the execution part of it. And talking of secrecy that TV Mohandas Pai was talking, I am very surprised that he hasn't chosen to read reports of how the West Bengal BJP deposited about 1 crore rupees just before the announcement was made in 500 and 1000 denomination. Let's also not forget that people standing in queue, none of them belong to the big industrial houses that deem to support the Bharatiya Janata Party. So this talk of secrecy also is something that can be spoken about, questioned and asked from as far as the BJP is concerned.
But
so
Priyanka,
these are
you're
some
saying it's about the opposition standing in one second.
Honestly.
You said it's about the opposition standing in one voice, but I'm saying that you guys can't walk 10 steps together to the president's house. I'm saying, is the opposition strategy actually, has it already cracked even before parliament has started?
No, these are questions that were asked of us even during the land acquisition bill that was being changed, the ordinance that the Prime Minister was bringing in through an undemocratic manner, and that failed spectacularly. So as far as this is concerned, also as far as speaking out in one voice is concerned, we would ensure that people's voices are heard, people standing in long queues, people who have earned their money and are now being told that there would be a cap on how much they can withdraw, and there would be an indelible ink that would be stamped on their index finger to say that to deny them any more withdrawals. These are things that would be spoken about and would be taken up in the parliament.
Yeah, but the indelible ink is only for the exchange of the old notes. We want to clarify again because
No,
there's been a lot of misinformation about that.
Unity.
It's not for the
If
withdrawals. I think we have to make that clear because they're two very different things. So I'm putting that to rest because I've seen the social media, because social media just says pretty much what it wants and then just becomes viral. But Nalin Kohli, on this issue of handling, would you concede that there has been a rethink, that it could have been handled better? Yesterday a BJP spokesperson said no, well we're so perfect, we've done this perfectly. But the fact is that the Prime Minister had a midnight meeting on this for more than 3 hours. And every day now, over the last 2 days, you've had the government coming out and announcing either a change in how much cash you can withdraw, different steps that have been taken. The Prime Minister spoke on this 4 times in 24 hours. I think that reflects some concern in the government about how this was implemented.
This is going to take more than a couple of minutes. I'll answer you. I'm going to answer Priyanka. I'm going to answer
2 minutes,
also
2
Shiv.
minutes, yeah.
No, it can't be 2. It's going to be more than 2. That's why I'm.
30 seconds.
No, I'm not.
beyond
That's less than
time.
10. You know that. I'm also a television guy. So let's go one by one. First, in terms of what you are asking, if you're seeing a government that's proactive and responding and sitting up to 1 a.m. with the Prime Minister leading that, the Finance Minister, the whole team, it means they are also looking at what needs to be done to somewhere alleviate the pain. Of course, there is pain. Can we pretend there's no pain? No, we can't pretend that. But can we also see the scale of it? In 1978, when the last demonetization took place, 146 crore notes out of 10,000 crore notes were removed. Today, you're talking of 15 lakh crore notes. In a huge figure, 85% notes being changed. So if you go ahead, now Mohandas Pai made an interesting observation and a comment. Maybe we could have changed soiled notes. But then again, the real issue in this is the element of surprise. And the question is, why do we need to do?
And boy, have you succeeded.
And now, that's a point which I'll cut across and come to Priyanka Chaturvedi. Look at the beauty of the contradictions within the Congress party. She says the West Bengal BJP had information about this 1 crore deposit, which of course they will answer. And on the other side, a little while ago, Rahul Gandhi is merrily claiming the finance minister also did not know. Such was the secrecy of it. So I think, these are all just allegations being heard because nobody is looking at it.
So how does the BJP explain that?
So I'm going one by one. So let me come. West Bengal, they will explain. Anyone who goes more than 2.5 lakhs is going to get a notice. You, me, anybody else. Why should the BJP be an exception?
Okay, so the West Bengal BJP is going to explain that?
Look, if there is a legitimate reason, nobody has to fear. If there's an illegitimate reason, you're in trouble. Period. Now let's come to the question of inconvenience. There are many examples you're saying. I can quote Sadiq, who's all over the social media, giving free rides. During elections, every death that happens in this country must be seen with an element of humanness. But on the other side, you see people who go out to vote, stand in the sun. 1 minute, just an important. 1 minute, Nidhi, just a point.
How is
just
the Prime Minister having a 1:30 a.m. meeting a sign of responsiveness and not a sign of a certain amount of panic that's set in?
Because the same glass which has the same quantity of water is either half full or half empty as you see it. It's as simple as that. So those who want to say this is panic will say it's panic. Those who want to say that this is not panic. But I want to come back to the deaths issue. In voting, in the peak of summer, people die of sunstroke while standing in election queues. Has anyone come up with a daft idea, stop the elections? So, I mean, everyone here comes up with their sense of thing. I haven't interrupted, sir. Let me finish, then you will have your time. So, has anyone come up with this? So, these are the extreme views. It's okay, you can come up with an extreme view. But at the other time, I can also quote personally. Okay, let's go to the bank. I haven't gone to the bank because I think, okay, I can manage with my credit cards. Let's wait for another week, 10 days. Everybody here is fueling that panic, and the political parties primarily, no, it's all going to collapse. This is very bad. So people are running.
As an appeal, those people who are using credit and debit cards are getting charged some 2.5%.
And what has the government said? Yes, and what has the government just now said? So, for example, SBI has led the way. No, SBI has. Yes, SBI has led the way. SBI said we will not charge anything on the transactions that take place up to 30th. Others may, and others very well might.
Shivam, and then I'll go to the Aam Aadmi Party.
Just two very brief questions for you. You spoke about the people dying in the queues. What about the suicides? There were at least 7 suicides. I can show you the sort of news links.
I'll answer that.
I'll
answer that straight.
2, in a simple yes or no, do you think the government could have done better with the implementation of the scheme?
Okay, let me first answer the suicide with a famous example on which hours and hours and days have been debated. Was that gentleman, Mr. Grewal, the ex-serviceman who committed suicide. Times of India carried a huge story, and I'll happily show you that, 2-column on prominently, saying that his suicide cause was buying poison because he was under huge debts. It had nothing to do with OROP. So, this whole thing of blowing it up also and saying, oh, here we are. Then you see a small corrigendum. Small little thing. We apologize, it was incorrectly done.
Normally we are called prostitutes, but I'm just asking that, because it's convenient for you to believe that Times of India story. The gentleman the OROP gentleman, his last call to his son is recorded, and he also explains his reasons. So, I'm not going to get into a debate.
So therefore, you are entitled to call the Prime.
We heard his voice, but I'm not getting into that.
You are entitled to call the Times of India prostitute. That's your view, not mine.
You guys call us that, but when it suits you, you're happy to quote them as well.
I must, we must qualify this. I don't, Nidhi, and I must put it on record.
No,
hold on. Hold on. I haven't come across, I'm just simply putting it. Everyone is entitled to have a point of view, but you as a general statement may not be correct. I think you should appreciate that.
Ashish Khaitan, on this point of opposition unity, we've heard Arvind Kejriwal actually say tonight that after meeting Mamata Banerjee, that if the Shiv Sena is part of this march to Rashtrapati Bhavan tomorrow, the AAP is not going to be a part of it. Where is the opposition unity? Is there an effective strategy to take on the government on this?
I think opposition unity is right now irrelevant. What is actually relevant is the agony, the pain, the suffering that the common man is going through across India. And who are these people who are standing in long queues and struggling for cash, struggling to make their ends meet? These are middle class people, lower middle class people, rural people, farmers, traders, self-employed people. Almost 99% of the people of this country have been suddenly told that the money that they were holding, the hard-earned money that they were holding in their hands is just piece of paper. And why you have to go through this pain is because we are cracking down on black money. By the way, the same government and the same party used to say that the black money lies in Swiss banks abroad. The black money lies with the scamsters who were involved in coal scam, 2G scam. The black money lies with those who had taken 10 lakh crores of public money through public banks and have not returned it. with the likes of Malia and Lalit Modi. Nobody is standing in the queue. No Malia, no Lalit Modi, no Adani, no Ambani is in the queue. It's the common man who's in the queue. And everybody is asking, but why would Modi do this? Why would Modi benefit these big people? Today we revealed a paper on the floor of the house in Vidhan Sabha. Here is an income tax department paper, CBDT paper, government paper, which shows 25 crore rupee entered against Gujarat CM in 2012. For what?
Of course,
and who made this entry? Aditya Birla Group. And then there are papers, Aditya Birla Group, same rate, 13-page document which says the projects that they had in Gujarat and the kind of interest and the relief they were seeking from the office of the Chief Minister of Gujarat, who at the time was Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So clearly, the only inference that can be drawn is that there is a quid pro quo between the government and all these big people
that the
who
Chief
have
Minister of Delhi has made
99%
on the
of black
floor of
money.
the House, and you're saying that again. I'll give Nalin a chance to respond to that. The BJP has already rubbished that, but are you saying these are fake income tax papers?
Nidhi, I hope Ashish, of course, on a personal level, we have no,
authentic papers.
Let him
Okay.
They can take
No,
me to the
okay,
court.
okay, let me,
and we have 4
Ashish, I'll
volumes
get
of those
Nalin
papers.
to
Actually, they
respond.
are already in court. Mr. Jaitley's case is also pending there, and I don't think they're going to find it very convenient to have more cases, because that's a one based on fact. Let's go one by one, and I hope he will not suddenly start interrupting me. First of all, I don't take the allegations of Mr. Kejriwal and his colleagues seriously at all anymore, because they've reduced everything to a joke. In any case, personally, I have no respect for a man who can take an oath of his children and say, "मैं बच्चों की कसम खाता हूं," and then I would have died of shame doing something like that.
He's a
He may
democratically
be,
elected
he
Chief
can be,
Minister.
yes, let him be elected. He's entitled to be
have to,
elected.
I mean,
But I'm entitled to have also a view of
You are
contempt.
entitled to your opinion.
Yeah, so I'm saying it.
He
I'm
is
saying
an
it's my,
elected
yeah,
Chief
let him be.
Minister, as we
He
have
could
an
be.
elected Prime
Yes,
Minister.
absolutely. So
Yeah.
that's my view, and I'm saying it absolutely unequivocally. They have reduced everything to only allegations. They are not serious or good or bad. They are just allegations. That's the only thing they've done. So if they want to talk of income tax, what has happened to the income tax thing, where their own so-called glorified page on which everyone's account will be there, whom we got the checks with, they didn't even tally with their election records. They didn't tally with their own
you guys
returns.
are planning
So,
to take
I mean,
checks,
it's okay.
check donations?
So I mean, it's okay. They are used to doing all this.
Is the BJP planning to take
We
check
do get
donations?
also check. We also do get
No,
it.
I mean, for all donations by
so,
check.
okay, when the
Yesterday,
election
Mr.
commission,
GDL Rao said it's a good idea, should be considered.
Yeah, so
Do you
what's
get
the harm
anything?
about it? We've been talking about decriminalization of politics and black money for always. Everyone makes fun of us, and when we start taking steps of it, we have a whole set of people who will only make allegations of us. So it's okay. We'll keep doing our
It's all
work.
rubbish. You're saying it's all rubbish.
Absolutely.
Mohandas Pai,
As everything else we see coming from them,
Mohandas Pai, ultimately,
including in their own party politics.
Ultimately, the question is, Mohandas Pai, about the success of this scheme in the long term, in the long run. Is the fact that is there a sense that we're being very flippant about it, as Shivam was saying earlier, that those of us who are sitting in Delhi, Bombay, and other big cities are talking about it as a minor inconvenience and not realizing what this has done to people in rural India over the last few days. According to World Bank statistics, bank account penetration in India is 53%, which means that there is still a large chunk of this country that doesn't have access to bank accounts. There's still a large part of our economy that is dependent on cash.
4% have cards.
Yeah, only 4% have cards. So, Mohandas Pai, ultimately, are we glossing over the pain that people are feeling at the moment?
Nidhi, let us get some things clear. The World Bank report is a very old report. Today there are some 900 million accounts across India. There are 650 million people who have accounts. That's the latest data. You can, no, please. No, Jan-Dhan Yojana has done very well. Please, everybody has, IMF has spoken about it. Let's not go with the World Bank. Now let me say something.
Why not?
Nidhi, let me give you some data.
No, I'm giving you data of the World Bank. Why is it rubbish?
No, nobody can argue that we are not an informal economy. We are largely
because it
What year is
doesn't
the
include
data?
the
Nidhi?
government is trying to
perhaps.
change, which is
In the
I'm
last
only
2 years,
reading-
250 million accounts have been opened.
Yes, but many of
with
them
very
have
low
zero
activity.
balance.
Yeah.
Many of
What
them
year
have
is the
zero
data,
balance.
Nidhi? Please check up.
I'm looking at its World Bank
Doesn't
data.
no,
November
only
2015.
20% have zero balance. Look at the latest data.
It is more than 20%, Mr. Pai. That's
November
what I'm trying to tell
2015,
you.
we are in 2016.
Yeah, so we're only
We are
a year away.
We are in November,
It did-
November 2016. Jan-Dhan Yojana happened after that. Nidhi.
We are more than
Nidhi,
there are
let's
more than
go with latest
30%
data,
of
please.
people in this
You
country
read the
that don't
newspapers
have
and find out
accounts.
latest data.
Mr. Pai, more than 30%, at least more than
Nidhi,
30%
let us see
of
the
people.
latest data. Today we are in November
I am talking about the
2016, for
latest
God's
data.
sake.
Forget the data,
Yodhana
just go
happened in
to
the
a
last
village
1
and
year.
see how easy is it for people to go to a bank. On average, they have to walk 2 kilometers for a
Nidhi,
rural Indian to go to a
the
bank
Northeast entirely
and do a
dependent on
banking
cash.
transaction. It's a day's job,
20%
a
of Jan Dhan
day.
account don't have balances. It's come down, please.
So, Mr. Pai, so are we just glossing? I mean, when the Prime Minister says that everyone who's standing in line
Yes.
is these are rich people, these are 2G scam people. I mean, I'm just saying that does that overlook the real hardships people are facing?
No. Nidhi, there is hardship for people. There is no doubt about it. It has to be done secretly. But in the next 10-15 days, we are going to be past the hump because the 500 rupee notes are coming, 100 rupee notes are coming. You must listen to Arundhati Bhattacharya, who is heading the largest bank, who is talking about it and what is happening. So, we have to go through this pain for the future of our children and the country. We have 10 lakh crore in my estimate, which is black money, and out of which 2 or 3 lakh crores is not going to come back. And doesn't come back, this country's future will be very, very secure.
Okay.
Look at Srinagar, the stone throwers are not there. Terrorism funding has come down. Fake notes are come down.
You there?
You don't know the seriousness of the situation.
The stone
It's a
pelting in
fantastic
Kashmir.
move.
The stone pelting in Kashmir has declined steadily over the past month and a half. I have police figures here. Please do not link it to the demonetization. It has already come down over the last 6 weeks.
Every winter it comes down. Is this
And it's not
In the last
linked to this.
4-5 days, there has been no stone throwing.
Sir,
Please.
it has already come down dramatically over the last 6 weeks. And these are J&K police figures. I'm happy to take them out and read them out to you since you're interested in data, but don't link the two. I'm trying to tell you
I think you should read out in the last 1 week what has happened.
So in the last 1 week, when there's violence
there is fake
again in
currency
J&K,
in this country. That has
then
all
what
been
will you do?
stopped.
Priyanka Chaturvedi, Mohandas Pai, and I think Nalin's point and the BJP's point is that there are sacrifices that have to be made for a larger good. I heard Rahul Gandhi tonight actually saying that the Congress isn't against this principle per se, the implementation is an issue. Priyanka.
Yes, this is exactly what I mentioned earlier, and Mr. Mohandas Pai was talking about the last 7 days what has happened. He's totally denying the deaths, he's totally finding excuses for the deaths. He keeps quoting Arundhati Bhattacharya here but refuses to listen to the other narrative. He questions your World Bank data, he questions everyone's bank account data, yet is refusing to acknowledge the fact that most of the country's economy is run on cash. It's not a cashless economy. I was surprised when Nalin Kohli said, I'm not going to the bank because hey, I have plastic, I can use debit card, I can use credit card and I can get my work done. You're talking sitting in Delhi and not realizing people in rural areas do not have these debit cards. I think Shivam just mentioned 4% of this country has debit cards or credit cards, and most of them are not used just about in every store possible.
Wrong.
So what are we even talking about? So execution is a huge issue, is something that we've been highlighting, and the long queues show that. The long queues outside every city, every rural corner of this country shows that. The anger coming from rural homes is very obvious for people to see. As much as Mr. Mohandas Pai would refuse to look at this narrative or even acknowledge this narrative, this is a reality they cannot run away from.
20 seconds. Yeah.
3 sentences. Oh, the Congress is going to sweep because they are sure that everything is there. So rural votes will come their way. So be happy. Why are you complaining? If you think it's such a scheme badly implemented and rural areas they are mad. So wait, so I'm saying, hey, enjoy it. You're going to win. Number one. All the parties who are worried.
I'm
saying, I didn't interrupt you, ma'am. Ma'am, I hope you have the decency of
I have 10 seconds
doing.
left.
Ma'am, please.
Priyanka,
I
one
didn't
second,
interrupt you,
It's
ma'am.
not
I
about
think
the
that's
Congress.
all I want.
I'm saying
Is the
it's not-
decency of
forget
saying.
the Congress.
Number one.
Yeah.
That's one point.
Yeah.
The second point is about, saying, oh, Nalin Kohli has plastic money. I know of my colleague who went to a dhaba and has paid using one of these, the transactional thing. The dhaba fellow got him to download it onto his phone. After that, even I downloaded it. I mean, India is moving on. I've also tweeted of someone who says debit cards, it's a woman vegetable vendor. So, it's easy for them to make these accusations. Let them. They are entitled to. They are a political party. Whether it's right or not, the people of India will decide, period.
All right, lots to talk about on this story in the coming days as well. Thank you to you all for joining us tonight. Tomorrow, Parliament begins, and don't expect it to be a cakewalk as far as this particular issue is concerned. It's expected to see a lot of disruption. See you tomorrow. Good night.